What's up guys, it's Nathan and welcome to Hail. We're back for another Decade in Review. This year we will be reviewing 2012. So for those of you who are new to this Decade in Review series, there's a few disclaimers to go over before I start my list. This list will contain movies that were released in the US during the year 2012 / movies that were recognized at the awards season of 2013. So in other words, if a movie was released in 2011 but it wasn't released in the United States until 2012 and it wasn't recognized at like the Oscars or Golden Globes until 2013, it's a 2012 release. Also, you'll notice several R-rated movies on this list. I just want to throw another disclaimer out there that I do not watch R-rated movies. I watch them filtered through VidAngel or on TV. A lot of people wonder why I do this. It's just a personal choice. It's just how I prefer to watch movies. Also, this is obviously a very subjective list. This is all based off my opinion. These are my personal favorite movies of the year 2012. And also, for your guys, it's nice to know I watched 7 new movies preparing for this list. Those movies included Zero Dark 30, It's Such a Beautiful Day, Django Unchained, Amour, Seven Psychopaths, Prometheus, and The Intouchables. So let's get started. At number 10, whoa, hold up. Cars are so loud. Why are you so loud? I swear every loud car is driving past right now. All the drivers are like, oh, Nathan's filming a video. We better get on the road. So starting at number 10. So this was a very hard spot to choose. There were 2 movies that I was stuck at, including a number 10 and number 11. One movie makes the top 10 list. The other one is never even mentioned. But I'm going to kind of break my own rules here and mention number 11 just for the sake of throwing out there that I had a hard time choosing between these two. I was trying to choose between Seven Psychopaths and The Hunger Games. And while Seven Psychopaths was probably a more critically acclaimed movie, The Hunger Games is just more nostalgic to me and it means more to me. And so for this ranking, number 10 goes to The Hunger Games. I was a freshman in high school when this movie was released. I had read the book before and so I had a lot of excitement to see the movie. And plus I was just a fan of Jennifer Lawrence playing Katniss Everdeen. I thought she did very well for the part. The first time I saw this movie, I wasn't as big of a fan of it because there are a lot of things they leave out of the book or they change for the movie, and that kind of bothered me. But when I saw it a second time, I could appreciate the movie for what it is, just the movie version, not the book version. And so to this day, I do enjoy this movie. I really like the way they set up the Capitol, and the costume design is amazing. And really, for those of you who are bitter about Seven Psychopaths not being number 10, I could really make an argument and say that this movie could be called 24 Psychopaths. Number 9 was a first time watch for this list, and that goes to Django Unchained. I've only seen one other Quentin Tarantino film. I know, it's crazy. And that's Pulp Fiction, which I honestly didn't like much. I know, I'm sorry. So going into Django Unchained, I felt a little weary because I didn't like Pulp Fiction. I didn't really know what to expect, but let me tell you, I loved Django Unchained. Somehow Quentin Tarantino is able to mix serious subject matter, the treatment of slaves, with hilarious content as well. I love the different camera shots, especially the ones that zoom in on the characters really fast. That never got old to me. Every time it happened, I laughed out loud. It's honestly, it's just a ridiculous movie, and I absolutely loved Quentin Tarantino's cameo in it. Coming in at number 8, we've got a Disney animated film that goes to Wreck-It Ralph. I like Wreck-It Ralph, especially more than Brave. And the reason I compare those two movies was because Brave won the Oscar for Best Animated Feature this year. And I think it definitely should have gone to Wreck-It Ralph. This was the year that Wreck-It Ralph should have won. I just appreciated the message of Wreck-It Ralph, how bad guys can be good guys as well. And it was emotional too. The final few minutes were very heartfelt. Number 7, we've got Silver Linings Playbook. So this was the movie that won Jennifer Lawrence her Oscar for Best Actress in a Leading Role. And I think that she deserved it. I think her main competitor this year was Jessica Chastain in Zero Dark 30. But for Jessica Chastain, they focus on the story of Osama bin Laden much more than her character. Whereas Silver Linings Playbook, we get to know Jennifer Lawrence's character. So I think it was easier to see her as the best performance of the year. But for the record, they both had great performances. Silver Linings Playbook is one of those movies where you just walk out and you feel a little better. You feel a little more satisfied. It's kind of like Green Book, where you watch it and you're just like, you know what? That was a solid movie. And the characters in this movie are freaking insane. In fact, you could even call them psychopaths. I'm starting to see a theme here. Number 6 goes to Chronicle. I can honestly say that I never really expected a found footage film to be in a top 10 of anything, but Chronicle does it right. There's heart behind it. There's a lot of comedy. And it's just like a really sad movie too. You wouldn't expect that from a found footage film. These teenage guys get these powers where they're able to move things with their minds. They're able to fly, all these things. And it pretty much shows exactly what teenage guys would do if they had this chance to have these powers. And so a lot of the movie is really entertaining, but then it takes a turn for the worse and the final few minutes are just absolutely insane. Performances are great from the main 3 leads. I love this movie. Number 5, we've got a first time watch. That is The Intouchables. If you're not familiar with this movie, it was remade this year as The Upside with Kevin Hart and Bryan Cranston. I never saw that one. Maybe I'll see it someday, but this movie was absolutely just an amazing movie where you see this relationship build between this quadriplegic man and his caregiver. And there's nothing really more to say. It's a simple plot, but kind of like Silver Linings Playbook, you leave the movie and you just feel a little better, feel a little bit more satisfied. At number 4, we have Tim Burton's Frankenweenie. I actually saw it in theaters, and I remember coming home from the theater and being like, that movie was definitely a little peculiar. It was really strange, but I mean, that's Tim Burton for you. The thing I like most about this movie is the stop motion animation. I also love the black and white cinematography. It sets the tone for the film. This movie really is eye candy for classic horror movie fans. I mean, for crying out loud, it's Frankenweenie. It's the story of Frankenstein, but with a dog. And so there are a ton of references from Frankenstein, the original Frankenstein, but there are also many references from other horror movies as well. It doesn't seem like the best movie, but I encourage you to definitely give it a try and see what you think of it. All right, now that we're at the top 3, I just gotta say, this was the hardest top 3 I've come up with up to this date for these Decade in Review videos. Literally, any of these movies could arguably be my number 1 of the year, but I had to really dig deep and evaluate why I like each of these movies and what makes them so good. One of these movies is a movie that I like all the way through. Another movie is a movie that I like the last hour and a half. Another movie is a movie that I love, but there's a lot of problems with it. I love you. I love you. I'll tell you which one belongs where when I say the movie. So coming in at number 3 is Moonrise Kingdom. This is the movie that I just like all the way through. I honestly don't really have too many problems with it. The reason it's not number 2 or number 1 is because it just doesn't mean as much to me as my number 2 and number 1 movies. It's directed by Wes Anderson, and so you get those amazing mix of colors. Also, it has that Wes Anderson humor. I don't know if I could call the performances great. I mean, they are, but the characters that the kids play are very simple characters, and so yeah, sure, like they give great performances. Coming in at number 2 is Life of Pi. Life of Pi is the movie I mentioned earlier where I love the last hour and a half of it. I've seen the movie all the way through plenty of times, but I find whenever I rewatch this movie, I always skip to the part when Pi and Richard Parker are in the boat together, because that's why I'm watching it. I love the relationship between them two. A boy and a tiger. You wouldn't ever expect that to be like a strong relationship in a movie, but it is. It is a driving relationship, and oh my goodness, oh my gosh, the cars are so freaking loud. The visual effects in this movie are absolutely stunning. It deserved the best visual effects award. Ang Lee deserved the best director award. The fact that he can make such a strong movie relying so much on the visual effects is just amazing to me. Like, he looks like a real tiger. It wasn't until the last time I watched it that I was watching it with my little sister, and I had to tell her, you know, that's a fake tiger, right? This movie's also very deep. It calls for a lot of interpretations. I'm not here today to talk about my interpretation of the film. I'm just here to say I love this movie. It means a lot to me. And if you haven't seen it, what are you doing? Like, definitely watch this movie. Coming in at number 1, it is The Dark Knight Rises. This is the film that I love, but it definitely has its problems. There are a lot of cheesy things in this movie. I've never loved Anne Hathaway as Catwoman. She's just kind of awkward for the role, and her lines are really cheesy, but also like other things that happen, like when Gordon and his men are walking the ice when they're receiving death by exile, and Batman shows up and tells him to light the flare and throw it on the ground, and then the bat symbol is in flames. That's a really cool scene, but why was Gordon's first instinct to throw it on the ground? Batman never told him to throw it on the ground. He just says light it up. So why was his instinct to throw it in that convenient spot where a trail could be made and fire could be shown with the bat symbol? Cool scene, but really cheesy. And also, what if they all just like fell through the ice as they were talking? Like, Batman's telling them, you know, like, I'm here to save the day, and then all of them just like cut in mid-sentence, drop down, all dead. There are flaws I have with the film, but I can't deny that I still love it. Tom Hardy as Bane is incredible, and his voice is just spine-tingling. Like, he's just a very intimidating character, and you can't compare him to Heath Ledger, but you can say that it was a great follow-up to Heath Ledger. Also, the trilogy ends in such a solid way, an amazing end to an amazing trilogy. I think at this point, I would say that my ranking of the films goes Dark Knight, Batman Begins, Dark Knight Rises, but I still love all the movies a lot. Gosh, how many motorcycles are in this town? I swear, there are so many freaking motorcycles. Also, I just gotta throw out there that I love Christopher Nolan's filmmaking. The fact that he goes the extra mile and uses the IMAX cameras and gets the certain shots that he does, it makes the movie so much more in your face. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in for my top 10 movies of 2012. Let's look at the year in review a little bit. If I were to give a nickname for the year 2012, I would call it the year of the psychopaths. I mean, to be fair, we did have a lot of psychopaths this year, and Batman even says so himself.
My gang of psychopaths.
There were actually no movies that I gave a 10 out of 10. But there was one movie that I gave a 1 out of 10. And that goes to The Three Stooges. It's an awful movie. I saw a total of 64 movies this year, and based off all the ratings I gave to the 64 movies, my average rating for the year of 2012 is a 6.65 out of 10. Thank you guys so much for watching. Leave your top 10 of 2012 in the comments below. And until next time, the door's over there. Get the hail out.